This presentation, titled Redefining Auditor Competence, Is Your Team Ready?, comes to us from IJ Arora. IJ is the president and CEO of Quality Management International, Inc. He has a 32-year record of achievement in the military, mercantile, marine, and civilian industries. IJ serves as a team leader for consulting, advising, auditing, and training in management systems, specializing in several ISO and industry-specific standards. He's an Exemplar Global Certified Lead Auditor and a member of the U.S. TAG to ISO TC 176, the committee responsible for the ISO 9000 family of standards. IJ is a popular speaker at several universities and forums on management systems, conflict management, crisis communication, and leadership, and his writing has appeared in numerous industry publications. And with that, take it away, IJ.
Good morning. Good to be back again with this new topic, redefining auditor competence. Is your team ready? We want to understand the changing context. This COVID has changed the world so much. We need to understand the risk-based approach, the importance of staying objective. And I go back always to the definition of auditing in ISO 19011. And each word, I think, has a meaning: systematic, independent, and documented process. I think inherent in that is very flexible, but very definite urge to be independent and objective. And systematic to me implies that auditing must have an element of formality in it. That formality which differentiates you, particularly when you are an internal auditor from within the organization. If you don't go through introductions, etc., you find that it looks the same friendliness that has been there. And you need to create that difference that this morning, you may have had a drink together yesterday, but this morning, you are their lead auditor. The changing context, industries are facing new challenges each day that impact their processes. Have we not learned this with the COVID, how the world has changed? Yes, lots of technologies have advanced and brought about remote auditing. They have increased the use in all sectors. The reluctance on remote audits is slowly being overcome, and we are beginning to see that remote audits are being accepted. There is commercial pressure, and there are restricted timeframes for auditors, but auditors need to prepare themselves for it. They need to take cognizance that the context of the organizations have changed, and the auditing must remain relevant. Auditing is integral to the planning and success of the process-based management system approach. And these audits, therefore, through the auditors, must present the understanding of the context of the organization. What is the objective of the audit? Can you achieve it? Don't forget the risk-based approach to audits. The risk to the organization, to the auditee, to the auditor. Of course, you have to manage the expectations of the stakeholders. The stakeholder, the audit client, expects the audit inputs to mean and add value in the decision-making process. If they don't add value, the audit is worthless. It becomes merely a formality. In the case of the leadership's commitment is integral to the success of the system. This we all know. We know it from the PDCA cycle. We know it from the ACT stage being synonymous to the top management. So therefore, the auditors must be able to see that and confirm, have your audit team been trained to assess this ability in the leadership? Because if the leadership is not committed and you cannot provide them the inputs, it will not add value. You need to understand the strategic direction, understand the risks impacting the organization, assess the accountability that the top management takes of the management system. Management systems, you may have put a process-based approach there. They are not going to work automatically. It's not a magic. You have to appreciate the risk, but risk is subjective. Therefore, auditors must know how to evidence the appreciation of the risk by the organization. You can go, we do as auditors go from one organization to another to audit, but the context changes, their risks change, the values, the product they have to produce changes. Therefore, you have to see the actions taken and their effectiveness. You need to plan ahead to see how you will assess. You cannot use the same template, and a lot of us auditors tend to can our questions and use templates. There is a distinct difference between a template that is using one for all and creating a checklist. Therefore, you have to be able to assess undocumented risks, because one of the achievement of that audit will be if there are risks which were not assessed by the organization, you are able to assess it for them. I was looking at the definition of objectivity, and I saw in the dictionary the fact of being based on facts and not influenced by personal beliefs or feelings. As we get more and more experienced as an auditor, that unfortunately is a reality. We tend to have our feelings, our biases, and previous experiences. And that then is also the challenge in this modern day to auditing. Use your experience to ask the questions, not to decide on the audit outcome, not to decide on the non-conformities. How you will maintain that objectivity is a challenge. Therefore, is your team trained to avoid inferences, biases, advise recommendations during the audit, not to be subjective? You may have made the audit plan, which you must, based on the previous audit results. Yet, when you go to audit, should you not put that behind you and take off on an audit without being influenced by the previous audit results? Please don't make audits into pass or fail. It is really about effectiveness of the system. Non-conformities add value. Non-conformities drive correction and corrective action. Non-conformities provide us the data when they are closed. And please remember, data drives risk and trends. Respect non-conformities. Welcome non-conformities. But it doesn't mean that you make an inference that this process-based management system is pass or fail, which I see many times. Therefore, is your team encouraged to manage the commercial pressures, the deadlines, the stakeholders' expectations that my system will not be blamed? Nobody is blaming the system. It is all an investment towards continual improvement. Let the non-conformities result in continual improvement. Your end result is a conforming product or a conforming service. A non-conforming product must not be the outcome. Remember this objective. Therefore, are you using the process approach? Is your audit checklist tailored for the organization's processes? Study the core process. Remember that sequence and interaction of the processes must result in conforming products and services. Avoid clause conformity. A lot of the auditors are stuck with the clauses. This clause, next clause. Systems conform to clauses. They don't work in clauses. Systems designed to the clause approach are doomed to failure. Therefore, avoid the clause conformity, focus on suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the controls and monitoring. Resources in meeting the objectives. Assess risk management. Have they appreciated the context? Have they got the interested parties, etc.? All. Remote audits are a new wonderful addition. They were already in the ISO 19011, and then the COVID phase came and even strengthened it. And of course, now a lot of them have become second nature to us. But you have to understand the risks. You have to see that managing confidentiality is a requirement of the audit, but you have no control over the software. And yet, I strongly, at least in my experience and in my company where we use so many auditors, is that the remote audits are a great addition, a great tool to continue to meet requirements in these constrained times. Integrity of the information, engaging the client, which means you must plan ahead as you make your checklists, etc., to see how the remote audit will add value. Is it fully remote, or are you planning a hybrid? Most of it remote, part of it remote, rest of it in person, etc. It needs to be given thought to. It needs to be given thought to. But once it's well planned, checklists are defined well, audit sample to be collected is well defined, clauses, etc. have been entered. That means the requirements are known and attached to the checklist. A remote audit should deliver equally good, useful results for the top management to make better resourcing decisions. Sparsely documented systems are often a reality. We keep saying we don't need to over-document our system, and yet auditors want to see everything documented. It needs to be given a thought, and auditors must learn to be able to audit systems that are not over-documented or short on documentation. Documentation not aligned to clauses of the standard. It does not have to be. It should be aligned to the processes, and the processes should result in the system, often called the core process, where the sequence and interaction of the processes should result in confirming products and services. Undocumented processes, particularly where organizations intuitively achieve the desired results, or possibly they don't. And in that case, the audit must show these results or come out with those non-conformities where they don't achieve. But not having a documented process should in itself not be a barrier to auditing. Undocumented risks, whether they know about them. So therefore, a question comes, does your training provider address these aspects? Think about it. Align your training to train your auditors to be able to audit without too much of reliance either on the clause approach or on the documented approach. Now, this is a slide I have simply taken from 19011. And I'm sure all the good auditors who are listening know about it. But there are a few points I wanted to stress on. Please look at this when I look at the changes from in the 19011 in the 2018 version. Most of the additions are related to ethical behavior and or to remote auditing, and most importantly, towards appreciating the risk. Therefore, please be open-minded, willing to consider alternate ideas, points of view. just because over so many years, we have formulated some views, some biases. Don't bring them to influence. Leave the top management independent to make decisions on their own management system. I've been to audits where someone fears for his job. They have had a bad experience with the previous audit. Doesn't matter. Be diplomatic, tactful in dealing with individuals. Auditors have one objective in the audit: to achieve the audit objective. Be decisive so that you are able to reach timely conclusions based on logical reasoning and analysis. The point in this is you should have studied the processes earlier before you come for the audit. It means, my thought on this is, auditors should be better prepared. You must be able to act with fortitude, able to act responsibly, ethically. All through this, your biases should not take away the audit outcomes. And of course, please look at the rest of them. We go all over the world to audit. There will be cultural sensitivities. I recommend that those who train the auditors, train them in these behaviors. I know that Exemplar Global is considering some kind of an online training on this, but it's a good idea to look at each of these points as we prepare for auditing in the next decade. Please also look at the remote auditing. This is a nice table that Exemplar Global has provided, and I always show it in most of my lectures. There are objectives to be achieved. You have to see whether your audit will achieve them. If it will not, you can still do a remote audit by preparing better for it. So therefore, I would like to say, kind of in summing up, systems are evolving. Technology is changing. Auditors cannot afford to remain static. They have to be dynamic. As auditor, we expect systems to be tailored to the client's need. Therefore, auditors need to upgrade their skills to go beyond the traditional audits. To say that I only audit in person or I don't believe in remote audits is staying in the past. Let us look ahead. Let us prepare ourselves for it. And with that, I will hand you over to Exemplar Global, and I wish you good luck with your audit.
Well, thank you, IJ Arora, for that look at redefining the notion of auditor competence. And that concludes this presentation.